Got it.
Welcome to the Driven Moms Answering Adversity interview series, stories of success through setbacks from Mom Elevated. Together, we can shine a light on how normal challenges and struggles are, along with how we can overcome and rise above them. Today, we have Raewyn. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Yay! We have Raewyn with us today to share with us all of her stories. So, can you briefly tell us about your story?
Yeah. I mean, what person hasn't faced adversity? But I think there's one that's like really unique to my journey as an entrepreneur and as a mom. And I mean, not like unique as in no one else has experienced it, but like this one is the one that stands out in my head. So when I had my daughter, she's 7. When I had her, I was planning on going back to work just as restaurant because my commute to my like career job was 2 hours each way. So that was like 12 hours a day I'd be missing from my newborn's life. So I decided we were going to do that. And then she decided, no, only my mom can put me to sleep at night. Otherwise, I will just scream for hours straight. And so then I had to find something to do from home. And so that's kind of like how I started my journey. That's not the adversity. That's just how I started. And so I started at like an agency doing virtual assistant freelance work. And about a few months in, after sometimes not being paid on time, sometimes not getting enough work to really be able to sustain us, I decided to go and work with a client, like exclusively, just that client. And this client was really big name. She's very popular, like making a lot of money at the time. And so I was going to work for her for 60 hours a month, $1,000. So I was like, okay, like, wow, $1,000. That was going to be my first time bringing in $1,000. And I was super excited about it. And I like dove in head first, did everything she wanted me to do, was learning like new systems, working on a team, all of these things that I hadn't done before. And it was going great. So I thought. And when I got to the 30-day mark, because she had said, like, let's make sure we're fit for 30 days. And then if we are, we'll continue, which sounds great, normal, right? We got to the 30-day mark and she had a meeting with her whole team. I was there, I was present. I spent like an hour or two on this meeting and it was talking about all the plans for the next month, blah, 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 blah. That night, June 30th, that night, I got an email from her saying she did not think we should continue working together. After I spent 2 hours of my day with my child, who was at that point, she was like, oh, she was 11 months old because her birthday was July 10th. And so I had been planning on using this $1,000 that I was going to be getting for the next month on her birthday. And then, no, nothing, nothing.
Wow.
I was like, what? Like, you why did you have me at this meeting? First of all, that was like the one forefront of my mind. But then secondly, the reason she cited for not wanting to continue working together was one that I had thought I had clearly established was a very firm boundary before we started working together. Because I worked at night back then because my daughter would go to bed at like 6 p.m. And then I would have I would work for like 6 hours and then I'd go to bed too. And so I was able to have my full days besides meeting time available. Well, that didn't seem to jive with her after she had tested it out, which I understand. It happened, but also like WTF? Why did I attend that meeting? Why couldn't you have told me like 2 weeks in, like, hey, this isn't really working for me. Is there any way you can maybe work during the day some hours? And I could have like tried to fix it.
Yeah.
Nothing. No. And so then I went into my daughter's birthday month with literally zero income, like done, because that was my one and only client. And so that is, I think, the hardest thing that happened when I was starting my business. I mean, tons of like hard things have happened since then, but that's like the one that stands out to me because it's like I was so naive. I was so new. And I know that other people, even if you've had like tons of clients, like there's still that one person that kind of just like gets you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I have those stories too. I think we all have those stories for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having faced that, like how did you answer that? How did you rise to that? And like what was your process to get through that? Because there always has to be some sort of process, especially when you were also dealing with the birthday party coming up and what you were going to do. And that's kind of the pivotal moment,
Yeah.
make or break. Am I going to continue in this, or am I going to go back to like a 9 to 5, or what am I going to do? So
Yeah.
how did you rise to that?
So I rose to that with the help of some of my friends, actually, my online friends. They were like, okay, let's figure this out. Right. And so I kind of ended up on two paths at the same time. One of those paths did not work out. That's okay. So what I did is I started posting in the Boss Mom Facebook group because this was back in 2016. So it was one of like the big Facebook groups that were for moms back then. Because like now there's so many, but back then it was like being boss, boss mom, and savvy business owners. I think those were like the three big groups. So I started posting in Boss Mom because moms was in the name, right? So like I figured people would understand my unique need to be there for my child over my need for, like, I did need to work, but I also needed to make it fit because what was the point if it didn't fit with my kid? And so I started posting in there. I found a few clients. One of those clients I am still working for to this day. She's my biggest client, Alexa Bigworth. She's amazing. And then I also did some side projects for some blogger friends of mine, bring in just a couple hundred a month. And then lastly, I started a business with some friends. That business did not pan out, but it was a great experience. It got me in the mindset of all of the business owner stuff that I needed to do, and taught me some other lessons down the line. But that's really like I didn't know what to do, and I went to my community. And I think that that is like the biggest thing that anyone could take from any type of adversity like that, where the kids behind me are like swinging things around.
Love it.
Uh, like where just you have to put that faith and that trust if you're going to continue forward. You have to build that community because if you don't build that community, like I had a community, but it wasn't like we, were doing a ton of stuff
Yeah.
every day together in our business or referring each other. It was brand new to me, but I had to have that community because if I didn't have that community support, my husband wouldn't have understand, like my parents wouldn't have understood, like none of it would have, because they hadn't been in that situation. None of them had tried to own their own business. So like no one knew what, like you don't have, okay, you lost your job, go get a new job, you know?
Yep. Well, and in that community, did you find that some people would kind of push you to get out of your comfort zone and be like, I feel you. You're in a tough spot. This sucks, but you got to do this too. Like,
Yeah.
try this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly like not only did I get clients do that, but I learned so many of those lessons. I learned like just different things I could try. And that really set the whole course for my virtual assistant business. Like I really attribute my business like exploding. I don't know if exploding is necessarily the right word, but like my business becoming something that's sustainable for me from that pivotal moment because you're right. Like I could have been like, nope, I'm out, going to go work at Starbucks. Like, I could have.
Yeah.
I had the experience of working in restaurants. I could have just left the house, but I decided like, this is what I really, really want, and I'm going to find a way to do it. And I think it's hard to stay true to that without your community.
Yeah. No, that I love that. I love that so much. That's so true. What do you think it is as an entrepreneur that makes us continue on through challenges without giving up when the times are tough? Because there are people out there, that try to start it, and not everybody, it is not cut out for everybody. And that is fine. I admire people who, do the corporate life and do that thing, because you can also make a great living that way. However, a true entrepreneur, I feel like we don't have a give up in us. Like, I feel like that is part of it. So what do you think it is about us that makes us not give up when it does get tough?
I think I honestly think it's like that taste of what could be that we get. Like, no matter how small, like, it's like a rush. And if you either feel that rush or you don't, right? And I have so many friends who've tried to start businesses, like, who my mom, she really wants to like do stuff on her own and have a business. And she's had all these ideas. And I've had all these ideas. Like, the ideas are not the problem that anyone has. It's that like you said, that don't give up. But in order to have that don't give up, I think you have to like really not fit in where you're working, where it's just like, no, I am never doing this again. Like, I am going to find a way to not feel this uncomfortable. Or B, you have that taste. And then once you have that taste, like I mentioned, my mom, she just got that taste last Christmas. She started designing like holiday wrapping paper, and she just was doing it for fun, put it on an Etsy, and she like sold out. And she was like, oh my god, she went and bought like a wrapping paper printer. Like, it's like a giant, she has it in her room, it's a giant printer that will print massive things. She can print on fabric now, and she hasn't made it a sustainable business yet, but she, like, every chance she gets, she's like going at it. And whereas before, like, she hadn't, because she hadn't received that taste yet. And so I think there's two things. You either have to really, really dislike where you're at, or you get that taste. But you're right, it is a personality thing. Also, Jenna Kutcher just had a podcast episode out that was about is are the cars good?
Oh no, you're good.
No, okay, okay, you're good. You're good, buddy. Um, she had this podcast episode that was like employer versus entrepreneur. I don't know the title of it, but I listened to that and I was like, that's so true. That, like, it really is so true. You have to look at it. Some people really do enjoy being an employer or working in corporate world. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if my husband would enjoy owning his own business. Um, he hasn't tried, so he might, but also he might not, and that's okay. Like, everyone's built different.
Yeah, I love that. Do you find that when you were little that you had things that you did? Like, I always had little lemonade stands that I also expanded into like bracelets and like selling candy, and like on the corner. Like, I always did that growing up, and didn't matter what it was. I always found something that I could sell. Did you find that you kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit when you were little as well, or did it develop later?
I didn't really have the sell part of it, but I had the leadership part of it. Like, any chance I could get, I was trying to lead something. Like, we had performances, and we lived in a condo, and there was like, I don't know, six kid groups that, like, kid families that hung out, and we do like talent shows there. And we would do we created a club at one point, but I was always creating. But the selling part, and that still to this day is like kind of more difficult for me. I'd rather do the connection. And so that's kind of how I run my business, is through connections and referrals versus going out there and marketing and selling. And I'm working on that part right now, actually.
I love that. It took me I found it a lot easier when I was little as opposed to now. Like I'm also working on the sales piece or like offering, realizing that offering is okay. Like it's not, I don't know, like that's part of giving. And that was
Yes,
something I'm learning right now is that giving can be an offer. It doesn't have to
yes.
be something free. So, yeah, that was a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually yesterday I had a call and I transitioned to the pitch really nicely and I wrote in my journal last night. I was like, it's like, what are you proud of today? And I was like, I transitioned my pitch. Like, yeah.
I'm so
Because
proud of you.
normally like I'm like, oh, I should have told them that they could buy my stuff.
Right. It's always in hindsight. You're like, oh man, that would have been a perfect. Dang, I missed it. I love that. So what takeaway or lesson would other mompreneurs be able to use from your experience?
So, one, stick with your boundaries. And if someone leaves you because of your boundaries, then that's on them. You don't need them. You will find another way because you are living true to your boundaries. And that's like the biggest thing I learned out of that was like, it's not going to work then. It's not going to work. So I had to just accept that and not try to like square peg, round hole it, like try to make it
People
work.
please.
Yeah, I needed to make sure, like, stick with my boundaries. Boundaries are a really big thing that I preach about all the time. And then the second thing I would say is like, trust your community. Like, get out there into your community, even if you're an introvert. I'm an extrovert. So that might have been easier for me. But I think that it doesn't even have to be putting yourself out there with like a Facebook post or a social media post, but like the people you're already talking to about business stuff, just, you know, lean on them.
Or find someone if you don't have some. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like find
And you
somebody
can
that
find me. You
yeah.
can find me. I will be your hype girl.
Speaking of, what's the best way for others to find you if they'd like to work with you or learn more?
Yeah, so I am all over Instagram. Like if you search Raewyn Sangari, you will find like a ton of accounts and I guarantee they are all me. The two main business ones I hang out on are Raewyn Sangari and then Unicorn VA Basics, which is very specific for virtual assistants. So if you are a virtual assistant, that one will be probably the great one to hang out with me on. But I'm on both all day, every day because I love Instagram.
I think that's fantastic. And that's so boundaries. Does that also extend to what platform you're on or something like that?
Yes, actually. Yeah, it's extended into like when people have come to me like, well, you do social media, so or in the past, or like you do social media, so why don't you do like Pinterest, TikTok? I'm like, no. I don't understand those places. Like, yes, you could try to hire me for it, but you're gonna get so much more bang for your buck if you hire someone I know who's great at it
Yeah.
versus paying me the same amount and I'm just like blundering there.
Or
It's
doing the bare
true.
minimum. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like trying. I mean, I'll try, but that's my personality. But yeah, the boundaries definitely like no. I don't even go on TikTok for my own like viewing pleasure. Like I literally have like 200 plus direct messages from family and friends sending me TikToks that they think I'll like. And I always forget to go on TikTok. It's just not there.
It's so funny. I know. My son finally got me to try TikTok. So I'm there. I'm trying. I'm fumbling through it and figuring it out, but I certainly don't offer it as something I do because I don't know anything about it yet. I'm
I
learning.
mean, I'm great at reels. Like I will tell you how to like work the reel algorithm all you want, but TikTok, I don't know. I don't know why my brain just doesn't want it. I don't want to be on it, so I'm not on it.
So so you were saying so Instagram is a great place to find you. Do you have anything happening since
Yes. Yeah, so I'm actually I said my account Unicorn VA Basics is for virtual assistants. I'm actually in the process uh possibly when this episode comes out of launching the course Unicorn VA Basics, which is a course for virtual assistants all about improving your client retention and your referral rates. It focuses really heavily on communication and boundary setting. And just if you're a person who's taken a couple clients or tons of clients, but you seem to think like your clients just kind of disappear or they don't continue on and you don't know why, it could be communication and boundary related. And I'd love to invite you to come to my free webinar that I have. I have one on the 17th, the 19th, and the 23rd. I'll have to give you the link. And it is called, Is It Me? Am I the problem? And it's all about like with nightmare clients. And are you the problem or are they the problem? We're gonna find out. So I'll give you the link.
Yeah, please do.
Awesome. Yeah.
I will include it with
Okay.
your episode. That's
Thank you.
fantastic. I'm excited to see what happens with that. I
Yeah.
have a starter VA course, so I think that's like a great follow-up
Yeah,
for beginning.
it is. Yeah. I'm like, if you haven't taken a VA course or you haven't worked as a VA for like 3 to 6 months, you're not going to find value in my course because you need to have experienced some of
Yeah.
it first. It's just like you could take my course, but you're not going to get you're going to be like, okay, cool, I'll make sure I communicate, and then it's not. You have to have kind of had that experience and
Yeah.
to know yourself. It's kind of like you have to be on the journey already.
I think that's so beautiful. I'm excited about that. Well,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for joining us today, Raewyn. Your story
Yeah.
so inspirational, and it's very, I relate to it a whole lot because I feel like it's very similar to my story. Um, but your willingness to be open about it is very much appreciated and needed.
Oh, thank you.
I did my pre.
Oh, I love him.
He's trying to do the code on my phone.
I love it so much. That's such real. My 4-year-old knows all the codes to all of our things so much better than I do. I don't even know how she remembers all of them. But for all of you out there who are facing your own adversity, know that you're not alone. That's the whole
You're
point of
not.
this. You are not alone. And when you need an extra hand or a mind for brainstorming during your mompreneur journey, we'd love to work with you through the Mom Elevated Society. It's a wonderful place to be. So you'll find monthly check-ins for goal setting and assessing, which are so important along the way, and so much more for both your business and your mom life. Until next time, keep shooting for the stars.